Itachi versus Pain is one of the most interesting fights in the Naruto community. Both fighters have a lot to offer, which makes it a very complex fight. Many people think Pain wins easily, but we'll determine if that's the case by the end of the video. To make this fair, we'll use a healthy Itachi who's not blind, so this will be part 1 Itachi. The fight will take place in a destroyed Leaf Village, but Pain will have full chakra to start. One of the more important things to establish at the beginning is how much information these two have on each other. Nagato actually knows a lot about Itachi thanks to Zetsu. During their fight against Naruto and B, he knew that Itachi was about to use Amaterasu just by Itachi building up chakra in his eye. That's the only confirmed ability Nagato is aware of, but there should be others. Zetsu was familiar with the Totsuka Blade, Yata, Susanoo, and Tsukuyomi. If Nagato knew what Amaterasu was, he should know about all of these thanks to Zetsu. Zetsu was Nagato's scout, and Nagato was very particular about knowing things about the Akatsuki members. I think it makes sense that Nagato has a basic understanding going on about Itachi's entire arsenal. As for Itachi, he won't know as much about Pain. He knows that Tendo is the leader of the Six, as he's the only one he's ever seen before. He should also know that about the Rinnegan being a Sage of the Six Paths thing, and understand that his dojutsu is superior. Last thing I want to talk about is Itachi's stamina. Sick Itachi was able to use Amaterasu twice, Tsukuyomi once, and Susanoo for a while. His illness greatly drained his chakra, but it's hard to determine how much. I actually don't think Itachi loses this fight based on running out of chakra, but we'll get to that point later in the video. Also, Pain isn't just going to use planetary devastation first, as that's not how Naruto fights work. People don't start with their best moves typically, and instead build up to it. There's a lot to talk about in this fight, so I'll talk about how Itachi deals with each path of Pain individually for simplicity's sake. The Naraka path is a non-factor in direct combat, but can revive other paths of Pain. He would be a primary target of Itachi once he displays this ability. The human path is also not that threatening, as I feel like Itachi has a taijutsu edge on every path of Pain except the Diva path. He was able to fight KCM-1 Naruto in hand-to-hand combat, and Sage Mode Naruto was able to easily defeat the other paths of Pain. Itachi was also able to fight against Sage Mode Kabuto as well in hand-to-hand combat. Both KCM Naruto and Sage Mode Kabuto are much better at taijutsu than the 5 lesser paths of Pain. The human path won't be a big factor here, because he won't get a chance to rip out Itachi's soul. The Predator Path can absorb ninjutsu, and this will be a good counter to Amaterasu. Once the Predator Path demonstrates this ability, Itachi will try to destroy it fast, however. Next is the Asura Path, which is the one that's a living weapon. This one will be hard to fight taijutsu-wise, and will do a good job of nagging Itachi. Next is the Animal Path, who will be a problem against Itachi for sure. The only way for Itachi to deal with summons is with his Totsuka Blade or Amaterasu. Amaterasu can be absorbed by the Predator Path, or repelled by the Diva Path. Also, the Animal Path can summon many more animals than Itachi can use Amaterasu. I see Itachi wasting one Amaterasu on this, and then seeing that Amaterasu is not viable, while the Predator and Diva Path are alive. His only way to defeat the Animal Path is by sealing the summons with his Totsuka Blade, causing him to have to play his hand earlier than he would like. Lastly, there's the Diva Path. I'm not going to talk about his big almighty push or planetary devastation yet. These are last resort moves, as he either has to get really close to his real body, and or deactivate the other passive Pain in order to do either of these options. Deactivating them basically allows Itachi to Totsuka Blade the other 5, and getting close to his body isn't easy, as Itachi isn't just going to let him run away. Kakashi was able to figure out how the Diva Path worked pretty fast, so I expect the same of Itachi. As for Almighty Push, Itachi can use his Susanoo to shield himself and cushion the potential damage. This would save him from an ordinary Almighty Push, as the durability of his Susanoo is high, but we'll talk more about that later. As for Almighty Pull, things get more difficult for Itachi. Sage Mode Naruto can resist it at all, so Itachi shouldn't be able to either. Susanoo's work strangely when it comes to how they interact with the user though. Gaara was able to pull Madara out of his imperfect one, and this should work the same for Itachi. I don't know why Madara didn't just deactivate and reactivate his Susanoo to counter, but I guess it was because he decided to absorb the Rasen Shuriken. Sasuke was also able to jump to the head of his Susanoo to use Amaterasu, so an imperfect Susanoo seems to move independently from its user in some ways. This is not the case for a Susanoo ribcage. We saw in Sasuke's fight against the Raikage that his ribcage was attached to him and had no autonomy. This differs from how an imperfect Susanoo moves differently from its user, like how Sasuke can jump without it moving, or how it can exist without Madara in it. A Susanoo ribcage seems to be hard stuck on the user though. When Sasuke got punched by the Raikage twice, it didn't even move despite being partially shattered on one hit. This is going wide, but what I'm trying to say is that if Itachi is Almighty pulled, he can use his Susanoo ribcage to save him. The Raikage and his Stage 1 Lightning Cloak couldn't damage Sasuke's, so neither could Pain. Even if Pain could pull him out of his Susanoo, he could just deactivate it and reactivate it as a ribcage. Susanoo's activate fast too, so this would be easy to pull off. My point is that a regular almighty push and pull don't work on Itachi, and would instead threaten Pain by putting them closer together. So if you couldn't tell by that whole segment, Itachi's answer is Susanoo and Totsuka Blade. Amaterasu is a waste of chakra, and Tsukiyomi doesn't work because he's going against a superior dojutsu. He's going to target the Animal Preta and Diva Path first, but how will this go down? Once the Path of Pain is sealed, it's gone, so there's no chance for the Naraka Path to revive it. The Totsuka Blade was able to stab Orochimaru before he could even comprehend that it had happened. Even more impressive than that would be that Edo Nagato couldn't even react to it either, but there was a smoke screen that helped Itachi surprise him. Itachi was still a decent ways away from Nagato, so that smoke screen only helped him when he first moved, which is really not that much if you really think about it. Any Path of Pain is decently weaker and slower than Nagato as well. My point is that if Itachi's Totsuka Blade can get Nagato with a little help from smoke, then he can get any Path of Pain if he's in range. People underestimate the Totsuka Blade, but I really do believe that Itachi can easily seal a Path of Pain before the Diva Path can even react, since Nagato cannot. This does not mean that Itachi wins though, as it depends on who's sealed first. At the beginning of the fight, I expect the Animal Path to be active, and Itachi will respond with the Amaterasu. Susanoo is his ultimate weapon, so he'd save that and instead use Amaterasu on a summon, and then the pass. The Diva Path would use Almighty Push, and this would catch Itachi's eye. If the Animal Path remains aggressive, then Itachi will have to use Susanoo. If the Diva Path gets aggressive, then Itachi would also have to begin to use Susanoo. After that, he would start using the Totsuka Blade, and probably target the Diva Path first, if I'm being honest. He knows he's the leader, and he knows that the almighty push and pull is the biggest concern. If the Diva Path is sealed first, then it'd all be over. The other Paths of Pain can't do anything against Susanoo. If the Animal Path is sealed first, then Nagato would get cautious. He wouldn't use his most powerful almighty push, as that makes the Diva Path vulnerable afterwards, and instead would use Planetary Devastation. He'd have to deactivate the other Paths of Pain due to using such a powerful move, just like when he destroyed the Leaf Village. This would be worth it though, because Itachi can't escape Planetary Devastation. We saw that a Rasen Shuriken and a Bichu Bomb had to help Itachi stop Planetary Devastation, which may have been overkill, but I still don't think he has the firepower to destroy the center of mass though, and would be crushed eventually. Even the almost complete Nine Tails couldn't dig its way out of Planetary Devastation, so neither could Itachi Susanoo. I've posed two scenarios for you, so which one is more likely? First, let me say that if you think about any fight in Naruto, it starts with the lesser abilities building up to the better ones. An example would be Pain versus Jiraiya. Starting with one path against Jiraiya, Jiraiya responds with Sage Mode, Pain responds with 2 more paths, Jiraiya responds with Genjutsu, and Pain responds with 6 paths. Same for Itachi. He saves Amaterasu and Susanoo for last in his fight against Sasuke. This is why it's not fair to say it's an instant Planetary Devastation, because that's very out of character. It's important in versus battles to imagine how the fight progresses, as something like the Totsuka Blade can win it out of nowhere. So let's talk about how this fight progresses again. Nagato started against the Naruto and Jiraiya with animal summons, so I expect the same here. Itachi views Susanoo as more valuable than Amaterasu, so he'll use Amaterasu. The Diva Path will use Almighty Push to stop Amaterasu from incinerating them. Either the Animal Summon will use more summons, or the Diva Path will use normal Almighty Push and pulls. Both offenses cause Itachi to use his Susanoo, which nullifies both attacks. Itachi's Susanoo could block Kirin, which is more powerful than an Almighty Push, unless it's a special one like the one used to destroy the Leaf Village. After that, Itachi can pick who he wants to Totsuka Blade first, since he could do this to Edo Nagato before Nagato could even react at all. The Diva Path, being the leader of the Akatsuki beforehand, and being the most dangerous on the battlefield, would be first for Itachi. After this, the other paths can't destroy the Susanoo, and get destroyed one by one. Even if this isn't the exact exchange, I expect for the outcome to stay the same. They'll play footsie with Itachi until he's pushed into a corner, and takes out the biggest threat being the Diva Path. If for whatever reason Itachi picks the Animal Path first, then Nagato would retreat and use Planetary Devastation. This would be a win for him, but I really doubt Itachi picks the Animal Path first. I believe Itachi wins this fight because Pain pushes him hard from the get-go, forcing Itachi to play his best move. So if this was in character, which is how versus battle should be, then Itachi wins. If this was just an on-paper fight, then Planetary Devastation wins. I prefer end character as it shows how the fights would have played out if they happened in the series. I know that this is an upset win, but really think about what I said here. Watch Edo Nagato versus Edo Itachi again, and see how much faster Susanoo is than Nagato. Remember, this is just my opinion and you're welcome to yours. I'm confident in what I said though, as Itachi Susanoo could beat Nagato, so the Diva Path would also lose to it. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos in the future. Comment something if you have something to say, and thank y'all for watching. I guess I'll see y'all next time.